Hello guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Today I'm updating my Premier League predictions. Now I did my predictions at the start of the season before a ball was kicked, and I will refer back to those predictions when I come to the end of the season. But I've thought after 3 games we can have a look at my predictions so far and see if I'd actually move any teams about based on what we've seen so far. I've got my top 4, my top 8, my mid-table teams, safe, and my bottom 3. The Premier League badges are scattered across the bottom. Let's work from the top down to the bottom. Make sure if you're a football fan to hit that like button and subscribe. Obviously, get your comments down below. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying. Just let me know why you think you'd go different in the comments. Let's start at the top then, and Man City. Easy for me. They win the league. Again, obviously, Man City have had a good start. They've dropped points against Newcastle, but ultimately look very strong. They won the league last year, and that was without Haaland. Now they've got Haaland. I think he's got 3 and 3. They just look very good. Again, Man City are not going to be stopped. I think they're quite clear favourites. I said they'd win the league at the start of the season, and I'm standing by that. Good performances so far. They won 2-0 at West Ham, 4-0 against Bournemouth. The 3-3 draw at Newcastle wasn't perfect, but they still managed to find a draw when they weren't even at their best. So, Man City for me, easily up there. This is where it gets a little bit more tricky. In what order do I put second, third and fourth? I'll go with Liverpool next. I think Liverpool for me, I'm recording this before they play Manchester United, so I'm judging them on 2 games and 2 draws, but I think they're still good. They've got Salah, they've got Jurgen Klopp, they've got that spine at the back with Van Dijk and the fullbacks and everything. Maybe not as strong as we've seen in previous seasons, maybe a little bit of a transition with Mane going out. Nunez got that red card against Palace. He's got quite a bit to learn. I know, obviously, he got provoked and whatever with that red card. I won't touch on that too much. I still think Liverpool will be in the top 4 quite clearly. I'll say second place for now, which is what I said at the start of the season. I do think they'll start moving through the gears as the season goes on. So Liverpool, for me, are up there. Tottenham are going third. Now, Tottenham have had a very good start. You look at Conte as the manager. I said they'd be in the... I think I put them third at the start of the season. You've got Conte. You've got Kane, who's broken a record now. Is it 250 goals after that one against Wolves? Kulusevski, Son. The midfield is very strong. I think Tottenham are looking very good. They went out and splashed some cash in the summer, and it looks like it will pay off based on the 3 games we've seen so far. And even... like I said with Man City, they snatched a draw at Newcastle when they weren't at their best. Spurs managed to snatch a draw at Chelsea. So Spurs have got this never say die mentality. And you wonder if Liverpool don't live up to their expectations. Can Spurs be a title challenger? Maybe. I've put them third. The last team in the top 4 is quite obvious for me. It's going to be Arsenal. Based on what we've seen so far, Arsenal have been amazing. I've put them 4th. I think they could really push up to 2nd or 3rd based on what we've seen so far. Remember though, it's a 38 game season and 3 games so far is not a lot to judge a team on, but it's been good and it's really set my expectations high for Arsenal. I watched their I've watched the full performance against Crystal Palace, but it was the first half that stood out there. They blew away Leicester. I feel like they could have won that 4-0. The goals they conceded weren't great. And then they've beaten Bournemouth quite comfortably as well. I think the squad looks complete. Arteta's doing well there now after quite a bit of time. It's slowly looking like we're going to start seeing results. And yeah, Arsenal in my top 4. Now then, in my top 8, I'm going to go Chelsea next. I feel like Chelsea are in my top 5. Can they get in the top 4? Possibly. They're a very good club, very good players, and obviously a very good manager. Based on what we've seen so far, it's not been convincing. I feel like they could have maybe got the win against Spurs, but the performance at Leeds was very shambolic, and they need to bounce back pretty soon because teams like Arsenal and Spurs could leave them behind, and that's who I feel like their competition is to get into this top 4. I don't look at Chelsea as title challengers. They're not on Man City's level, but they're a very good team. Can they get in that top 4? I feel like they could be borderline. Based on what we've seen so far, it's not been great. Next up then, this is tricky. I will go for Newcastle United. Newcastle have been brilliant. Imagine if they get in that top 6. I feel like they really could do. It's not even a joke to see Newcastle in there now. It is what we're going to come to expect from them. Remember, they've got the new owners. They're pumping some money in. They're spending it sensibly, and they've got a good manager there. I feel like each season they're going to improve, and you look at the performances so far. The win against Forest, they were just rampant for 90 minutes. The draw against Brighton was solid. Nick Pope looks like a very good addition. That was 2 clean sheets from 2. And then the Man City game, if they'd have beat them, that would have been amazing. But ultimately, they can still be pleased with the draw there. Trippier looks good. The front 3 of Almiron, Saint-Maximin and Callum Wilson, very good. Newcastle in my top 6. Next up, this is getting tricky. I might go for Brighton. I think Brighton have been good. You look at the start they've had. I feel that they really could have a battle for Europe this season, and that is no joke. Honestly, Brighton are a club going in the right direction. I've said under Graham Potter, They are really going in the right direction. And as a club, they're well run. The recruitment is good. I had 1 or 2 question marks when they lost the players like Basuma over the summer, but they still look so good. You think of the performances they've put in. They won at Man United. They drew against Newcastle. Then they won at West Ham. If they keep this up, I think they could battle for Europe. I've been very impressed. And then last up, this might surprise people, I'm going to go for Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace could actually have a battle for Europe this season. And that is no joke, because I watched them against Arsenal and it wasn't the best, but Arsenal have looked very good. They then go away to Liverpool and pick up a very good draw. They could have won that. Remember, Zaha hit the post late on. They took the lead in that game and everything. And then the win against Villa was very convincing. And I feel like under Vieira, they're actually going to keep improving. They set a very good bar last season. I wonder if they go past the bar this season and get into that top 8. I've been very impressed by Palace. Next up then, we're going to move down to the mid-table section, and this is where I'm going to go for Manchester United. Now, this might be very controversial, but based on 2 games so far, they've been pathetic, and I feel like putting the mid-table is actually quite generous. Obviously, they've got plenty of quality, and they will get the wins through the season, and they will improve. They're not going to stay bottom of the table, but it's such a bad start. They're going to break records if they keep this going. The loss against Brighton was pretty poor. They nearly went 1-0 down in the first minute. Brighton were just better than them. Brentford was just unforgivable from me. I think Manchester United were just so poor in that game that you can understand fans' frustrations. I'm recording this before the Liverpool game, so I don't even know what's going to happen there. But I think Man United will improve through the season, but I think they're getting worse and worse. I thought under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, this is probably as bad as they're going to get, but I don't know. I think Man United are actually getting worse each season, and Ten Hag does need time, but I think it's all the players, really. They need a rebrand, a refresh, and it's not good enough. Man United, mid-table. Next then, I'm going to go for Brentford. Now, Brentford have had a interesting start, pretty good on the whole. That 2-2 at Leicester was a very good fight back. The win against Manchester United, they were just more hungry than them, weren't they? They were just very devastating going forwards. Tony and Buemo, Norgard and Jensen and all the quality there is just what does it for me. Brentford, I think, had a couple question marks coming into this season because they had a good season and some people believe in second season syndrome and the fact that Eriksen was going. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be absolutely fine. I think top 10 is definitely possible. That's where I'm going to put them. I think Brentford look very good, and I enjoy them as a club. They were always getting better when they were in the Championship, and now they're in the Premier League. They look like they're actually going to keep getting better. Top 10 for Brentford. Also in mid-table, I'm going to go for Leeds. Now, Leeds have been brilliant so far. I know we're judging them on 3 games, and it could all change, but I'm recording this just after the Chelsea game, and how good were they? How good were they? I think the reservations some people had and question marks some people had was, after Bielsa went, can Leeds find that new identity? Because it was so synonymous with Leeds United. But they actually looked really good under Jesse Marsch. Obviously, he did what he needed to last season by keeping them up. And it was always going to go 2 ways. They were either going to struggle again or really push on. And based on 3 games so far, they're really pushing on. Some great results so far. Mid-table for me. And could they even battle for Europe? We'll wait and see. But so far, mid-table from Leeds. Next up, I'm going to say West Ham United. So far, it's been a bit slow from West Ham. I think they obviously need some time to really get going. They've still got the quality. They've still got an experienced manager there. But it's really not been a good start at all. And it's maybe knocked me from thinking they'll battle for Europe this time round. Obviously, the defeats to Brighton and Nottingham Forest aren't great. The defeat to Man City is not one I'd read into. But they've had okay performances. Like I say, at Nottingham Forest, they could have got something. I think they'll be fine, but it's a pretty shocking start from West Ham. So maybe that slow start could have an effect on where they finish come the end of the season. I'll say mid-table, though. I do like West Ham. Next up, I'm going to go for Aston Villa. Aston Villa so far have played 3. They've not been the trickiest 3 games you're going to get in this division, I must say, because they've played Palace, Everton and Bournemouth. And for me, Aston Villa, with Gerrard and all the signings they made, you'd at least expect 2 wins. They've got 1 and they've lost 2. I've often found with Aston Villa, they can be quite a streaky team. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they go and win 3 games, then go and lose 3 games. Obviously, Carlos could be a big miss, and they did spend quite a bit and bring quite a few players in, so you can sometimes expect a slow start and then a real gel together and a charge up the league. But so far, I'd say Aston Villa are leaving a bit to be desired with the expectations, with them being a massive club, a big profile manager and some of the big signings they've made. But yeah, for example, the Palace and Bournemouth defeats, really not very good. Also mid-table, I'm going to squeeze Nottingham Forest. Now, Nottingham Forest, for me, I said at the start of the season would finish mid-table, and I'm going to stand by that. They've had 3 games so far against sort of established Premier League teams, you'd say, and they weren't great at Newcastle, but they bounced back with a very impressive win at West Ham. They weren't at their fluid best, and obviously West Ham really were pushing them, but it was a great defensive performance, and I think Henderson could be one of the best signings. Since then, Gibbs White's come in, Dennis has come in, and you just look at that squad and like the squad depth is looking like a Premier League squad. I've been impressed by Forest so far. They've got big tests to come. They've got Spurs and Man City, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Forest maybe drop a couple places when they play those two. But then they've got a 6-pointer when they play Bournemouth. And I think at home in particular, with that massive fan base at the City Ground, you know, really roaring them on and how passionate they're going to be after 23 years of waiting, I think Forest will be fine. Mid-table for me, which would be a great achievement. I'm standing by Forest to finish mid-table. Then, as we go into the safe category, the first one I'm going for, and it's a bit of a surprise, is Leicester City. Now, Leicester, for me, should not be down there, but it's been a shocking start. Schmeichel going, for me, is actually a massive, massive miss, because not just is he a good goalkeeper with experience, but he's been there for so long that he's almost synonymous, and he's a core part of that squad, so I think that was a big departure. Jamie Vardy's still good, but he's getting a little bit older. James Maddison does seem to be the main man there now, and I don't even know if he's going to still be there. He's scored in a couple of games. He's scored against Southampton. They're still lost. He scored against Arsenal. They're still lost. So ultimately, they need strength at the back. I'm not convinced by the back line, to be honest. And going forwards, I think they need a bit more goal power. I think Leicester could have an underwhelming season. They're not going to go down, but they could finish something like 14th or 15th, which would be very poor for a club like Leicester and a manager like Brendan Rodgers. Also surviving, I'm going to go for Southampton. Now, Southampton just beat Leicester. I said they'd beat them 2-1, and I was spot on with that. I think Southampton, what you come to expect from them is quite an inconsistent team, but very much established in the Premier League. They've got enough power there to get the goals to stay up. I think Che Adams is very important. James Ward-Prowse, of course, as well. And yeah, Southampton will be fine. They could run the risk of maybe getting drawn into it halfway through the season, but I think the manager there, the squad there, the fans there, it's all, for me, pointing towards them staying up. I think they've got a bit more about them than at least 3 or 4 of the other Premier League teams. So Southampton will be safe. And then the last one for me, this is a bit of a wild one, but I'm going to go for Fulham. They've been so good so far, and I think it'd be great to see them survive because they have actually put everything into their first 3 games, and in each game, they could have won them all. Against Liverpool, they led twice. They just fell short with a 2-2 draw. Against Wolves, they had that penalty late on. That could have won the game. And then they beat Brentford. Mitrovic is looking good. Honestly, if Mitrovic can keep this up for a whole season, Fulham will be fine because he was so important to them last season. And I'm not saying they're a one-man team because Fulham do have a good togetherness. And I think the manager this time round with Marco Silva does seem to get Fulham. I feel like if anyone's going to keep them up, it'd be him. So they need to stand by him when they go through hard times. There won't be always favourable results in the Premier League, but based on what we've seen so far, 5 points from 3, and it could be more, I think they'll be okay. I think Fulham just about do it. Let me know if you agree. So then, my bottom 3, let's start with Bournemouth. Bournemouth for me so far have been okay. They've had that win against Villa, which you look back on now say was a very big result because it was followed up against games by Man City away and Arsenal at home, who've been the 2 best sides in the league so far, arguably. I think there's big games coming though. Bournemouth's season will be shaped on the 6-pointers. I think they've got Forest away in a couple of weeks. That is massive. Bournemouth have got 3 points from 3. If you keep up a point per game, you probably stay up. But will they? It could be close. I'd like to think Bournemouth could do it. So far they've been competitive. They need to tighten things up at the back, and the goal power, I don't know, is there enough goal power there? Maybe, but we'll wait and see. Bournemouth, I'm just going to stand by in the bottom 3. I'd like them to prove me wrong. Next up, Everton. Everton so far have had a slow start, and you wonder if pressure could build on Lampard. Now, he did really well to keep them up last season, and the crowd was right behind them. Goodison really kept them up. I feel like the fans were so important to them last season. But I think I look at Everton and some of the established Premier League clubs that aren't in the top half, and I think I'd be looking over my shoulders watching the likes of Fulham, Forest and Bournemouth coming up and already picking up their first few points. Everton have got 1 point to show from their first 3 games, and even that was a late goal against Forest, so they could have lost that game. Performance-wise, it's not been great, but they've got bigger tests to come. They've got very big games coming, and I wonder, can Lampard perform miracles again, or will Everton actually go down? I'd like to not see Everton go down because they are part of the Premier League. They're a massive club, but sometimes being a big club isn't just enough to stay up. Last up, I'm going to go for Wolves. Wolves going down is a bit of a surprise, to be honest, but I think coming into this season, a few people said, keep an eye on them. It's been a slow start. They've got the capability to turn it round, but ultimately the defeat against Leeds was not great. The home game against Fulham, they could have lost, as I say, and I'm not massively convinced. I actually think Wolves could get dragged into trouble. If they don't go down, I feel like they could be in the scrap, so we'll wait and see with Wolves. Once again, they're an established team. They've been doing really well over recent years, but you look at their squad coming into this season, is it going to be good enough to stay clear of the bottom three? I don't know. So then, guys, that wraps up my Premier League table updated predictions. Let me know your thoughts on that down below. Some of my predictions are a bit out there, but I'm basing it on what we've seen so far and, yeah, my genuine thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.